Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. And before we begin timing, may I ask who my evaluator might be? Sean was supposed to be it, but I don't think he.
Oh, Sean is not here. Art, would you please evaluate Mariana?
Was that me that you said, Tatiana?
Yes, please.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariana. Thank you, Art. Back to you, Mariana.
Thank you, Art. Are you easily overwhelmed by such things like bright lights, loud sounds, strong smells, coarse fabrics? Are you overwhelmed by crowds? Do you need to withdraw on busy days into a bed or a darkened room, or just some place where you can have privacy and remove yourself from a situation? If you said yes to any of these questions, then there is a possibility that you might be a highly sensitive person, or HSP. Dr. Elaine Aron coined this term and wrote a book with this name back in 1998. I read this book about 2 years ago, and I felt like I was reading about myself. It was so strange and yet comforting not to feel alone. The questions that I just asked, here are some of my answers. I am affected by smells, both good ones like a nice candle and stinky ones. The first thing I do when I buy clothes is cut off the tag, even if it's not itchy, just because I can feel the darn thing there. And I have had to go into a darkened room, lay down in a bed, close my eyes to remove myself from a stressful situation. And at the time, I didn't realize this is a self-soothing mechanism. I want to preface that this speech, most of what I say here, the information, the definitions, the data, it's all from Dr. Elaine Aron's book or website. Dr. Aron's distinct trait is approximately found in 1 out of 5 people, so that's about 20%. And according to Dr. Aron's definition, the highly sensitive person, or HSP, has a sensitive nervous system and is aware of subtleties in his or her surroundings and is more easily overwhelmed in a highly stimulating environment. Dr. Aron explains that HSPs in the past have been called timid, shy, inhibited, or introverted. But these labels miss the true nature of the trait. Actually, 30% of HSPs are extroverts. I tend towards introversion, but thanks to Toastmasters, and in particular table topics, I can extrovert well when I need to. Dr. Aron uses the DOES acronym to describe this trait. DOES, D-O-E-S. D is for depth of processing. High sensitivity is a tendency to process things more deeply. HSP simply process everything more, relating and comparing what they notice to their past experience and similar things. They do it whether they're aware of it or not. And when we decide something without knowing how we came to that decision, that's intuition. And HSPs have pretty good intuition, not infallible, but pretty good intuition. And when we make a decision consciously, we may not notice that we're slower than others, or we may notice that we are slower than others because we think over all the options so carefully. That's depth of processing too. As I've gotten older, I've learned to trust my intuition because it's usually right. O is for overstimulation. If we're going to notice every single thing in a situation, and if that situation is complicated, intense, noisy, or it goes on too long, then it may seem obvious that we wear out quicker from having to process so much, and others who aren't noticing won't tire quickly. And they may even think it's strange that I can't go sightseeing all day and then go to the nightclub at night. That's too much. E is for emotional reactivity or empathy. HSPs don't just know how someone feels, but they actually feel it ourselves to some extent. The brain mirror neurons, which were only discovered in the last 20 years or so, activate when we're watching someone else do or feel something. I know this, when I watch the news at night, is I don't know why I do this. I torture myself with this. I watch the news at night and I usually cry at the news because they're showing me some tragedy. And I'm watching this person or group of people having probably the worst day of their life right in front of me. And I can't help but empathize. Or S. S is for sensing the subtle. HSPs, we notice the little things that others might miss. And it's not because we have better senses. It's just noticing all the little details. And I find this to be particularly true, and that I feel I'm very aware of other people's nonverbal cues. And sometimes they don't know they're giving off these cues about their mood, their trustworthiness. And I actually use this a lot at work, which is very helpful. So I've gone over what it means to be an HSP, and the DOES acronym, DOES, D for depth of processing, O for overstimulation, E for emotional reactivity or empathy, and S for sensing the subtle. And it may seem like I've highlighted some enchanting positives, but in fact, it's not all roses. People don't understand why I need downtime and to be by myself. And if I'm in need of this downtime, I'm not noticing the subtle things, or I'm not being empathetic to someone who might be going through something. Dr. Aaron says, every highly sensitive person is different and different at different times. So some of you may be thinking, I don't have this highly sensitive trait, so why does this matter to me? Well, again, 15 to 20% of the population are HSPs. So that probably means you know someone in your family, someone that you work with who is one. And knowing that that person might need a little extra time to give you an answer and being okay with it, or knowing that they might need a quiet environment to work in. Or maybe you should trust their intuition because they might be noticing something that you're missing. Bottom line, being aware and being empathetic to this HSP may help you improve your relationships. Madam Toastmaster, Mr. Mickey.